This is Miss Stewart reading The Haunted Library, The Underground Ghost. This reading is dedicated to Nathan. Chapter 1, A Visit to Seattle. Look, Kaz! Little John gazed out Claire's window. We're up above the clouds. Kaz didn't want to look. He, Little John, and Claire were on an airplane. Claire had flown on an airplane before, but this was a new experience for the ghost. Kaz wasn't sure he liked it. I wonder what it would feel like to pass through a cloud, Little John said, edging closer to the window. Kaz pulled him back. We're not going to find out, he said. Claire smiled at Kaz and Little John as they floated above her. She couldn't talk to them because there were too many people around. Those people couldn't see or hear ghosts like she could, so they would wonder who she was talking to. Claire and her ghost friends were on their way to Seattle. Claire's parents were at a convention for detectives, and Grandma Karen was at a convention for librarians. So they had arranged for Claire to spend the week with her Aunt Beth and cousin Maddie. Back before she met Kaz and Little John, Claire used to live in Seattle. She saw Aunt Beth and Maddie all the time because they took care of her whenever her parents were away. But Claire's family had moved to Iowa last year to be closer to Grandma Karen. This was Claire's first trip back to Seattle and her first trip without her parents. Claire couldn't imagine a better time to visit Aunt Beth and Maddie because Halloween was this Friday. Maddie was on the teen advisory board at the Seattle's public library, and they had planned an overnight Halloween party at the library. There would be ghost stories, crafts, and games. Claire could hardly wait. Remember, Little John, you said you'd be on your best behavior if you got to come to Seattle with Claire and me, Cass said. I am on my best behavior, Little John replied. No glowing, no wailing, and no scaring solid people, Kaz said. No passing through airplane windows either. I was just looking out the window, Little John said. I wasn't going to pass through it. Relax, Kaz. We're on vacation. How was Kaz supposed to relax when he had to worry about his little brother? Honestly, Kaz was surprised Mom and Pops let him and Little John go all the way to Seattle, especially after everything that had happened to their family. A year ago, Kaz and Little John lived with their big brother Finn, their parents, their grandparents, and their dog Cosmo in an old abandoned schoolhouse. Everything was fine until Finn accidentally passed through the schoolhouse wall and the wind blew him away. Grandmom and Grandpop tried to rescue Finn, but they blew away too. A few months after that, the schoolhouse was torn down and the rest of the ghosts blew away. Kaz didn't think he'd ever see his family again. The wind blew Kaz to a small town library. That was where he met Claire. Claire lived above the library with her parents and her grandma. Kaz and Claire had formed a detective agency, C&K Ghost Detectives, to solve ghostly mysteries and find Kaz's family. It took a while, but they found everyone, Kaz's whole family. Now, what if someone got lost again? What if Kaz or Little John got lost in Seattle? This airplane is kind of like a water bottle for solid people, Little John said as a flight attendant moved through the aisle and collected trash. How do you figure that? Kaz asked. If solid people want to go somewhere, they travel inside an airplane, Little John said. If we want to go somewhere, we travel in there. He pointed at the empty water bottle on the tray table in front of Claire. Kaz couldn't argue with that. A voice came over the loudspeaker. In preparation for landing, please make sure your seat backs and tray tables are in their full upright and locked positions. We better go back inside, Claire's water bottle, Kaz said to his brother. Ah, do we have to? Little John asked. Yes, Kaz replied. The ghost shrank down, 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 and passed through the side of the bottle. Claire held her water bottle between her knees while she lifted her tray table and clipped it to the back of the seat in front of her. Hey, Little John called to Claire. We want to see out the window. Speak for yourself, Kaz moaned. Looking out the window made him feel skizzy. But Claire raised her water bottle to the window anyway. Thanks, Claire, Little John said. If you don't want to see Kaz, close your eyes. So Kaz closed his eyes. He didn't open them until the plane was safely on the ground. Since Claire was traveling without an adult, a flight attendant walked her through the busy airport. Kaz and Little John remained inside the bottle. There she is! There's Claire! A teenage girl with bright red hair waved eagerly. The lady beside her waved too. Claire grinned. That's my cousin and my aunt, she told the flight attendant. Rolling her suitcase behind her, she ran to the red haired teenager and lady and threw an arm around each of them. Hi, Maddie. Hi, Aunt Beth. Oh, it's so good to see you again, honey, Aunt Beth said, hugging her back. She glanced at the flight attendant. Thanks for looking out for my niece. My pleasure, the flight attendant replied. She waved goodbye and hurried away. How was the flight? Aunt Beth asked Claire as they headed for the parking garage. Good, Claire replied. They took an elevator down to the second floor of the parking garage and walked over to a blue car. Maddie put Claire's suitcase in the trunk. She started to open the front door, but then got into the back seat instead. I don't get to see Claire very often, so I'm going to sit in the back with her, she told her mom. I'm sure Claire would like that, Aunt Beth said. Claire nodded. She held her water bottle on her lap while she buckled her seatbelt. Aunt Beth started the car and drove out of the parking garage. Hey, Mom, Maddie said, leaning forward in her seat. Can I have the week off from homeschool to hang out with Claire? No, Aunt Beth said. She sounded surprised that Maddie would even ask. Claire probably has work from her school that she has to do while she's here. I do, Claire said. Good. If you spend your mornings on schoolwork, you can have the afternoons to do whatever you'd like. What would you like to do while you're here, Claire? Aunt Beth smiled at Claire in the rear view mirror. Claire shrugged. I don't know. Mostly just hang out with you guys and go to the Halloween party at the library. I'm looking forward to that. Unfortunately, there may not be a Halloween party, Maddie said glumly. What? Claire asked. Why not? Some weird stuff has been happening at the library, Maddie said. Kids aren't signing up for the party because they think the library is haunted. Remember before you moved, you told people you could see ghosts? I know I didn't believe you then, but were you telling the truth? Maddie, Aunt Beth laughed. You're 14 years old. You know there's no such thing as ghosts. Little John clucked his tongue. There is too such thing as ghosts, he wailed inside the bottle. Little John, Kaz scolded. He clapped his hand over his brother's mouth. Maddie drew in her breath. What was that? She peered at Claire's water bottle. She heard Little John, but she couldn't see him. Even Aunt Beth turned to look. That was a funny voice, Claire, she said. No wailing, remember? Kaz said to his brother. Little John lowered his eyes. Sorry, but I don't like it when people say there's no such thing as ghosts. Aunt Beth turned her attention back to the road. Maddie elbowed Claire. What was that? She asked again. Claire glanced down at her ghost friends. Should I wail some more? Little John asked Kaz. No, Kaz said. Claire leaned towards her cousin. Can I tell you a secret? She whispered. Of course. Maddie looked at Claire curiously. I was telling the truth when I said I could see ghosts, Claire whispered. In fact, I brought two ghost friends with me. They're in here. She picked up her water bottle. That's what you heard just now. They're in there? Maddie's eyes opened wide. They must be awfully small, she said in a low voice. They can shrink and expand, Claire whispered. I wish I could see them, Maddie whispered back. What are you girls whispering about back there? Aunt Beth asked. Nothing, Maddie said loudly. Better not tell my mom, she whispered to Claire. She'll never believe you. Claire nodded. Most people don't, she said softly. I'm used to it.